Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie and I'm here with my husband Jem, and it is January the 1st of 2025. Cannot believe that it is another year has gone by.
What I can't believe is technically this is the last episode of season 2
Yes, but
because we're late.
we did a lot of episodes for season 2. We'd had like 40 something episodes on season 2.
Mhm.
I decided that we were going to literally have a year-long season. Now, when we started doing this a couple of years ago, we were not as consistent. We tried to put something out once a week. And the second year we did it, we did a lot better of putting something out there once a week. Occasionally, if we were like out of town or something, we would be a little late. But we at least got 46 episodes in a season,
Mhm.
considering there's 52 weeks in a year.
We got close.
We got close. And so for this next year, my New Year's resolution is to keep doing this and do one a week. And
We're adding to it, though. We're doing something different.
geez, I'm not looking forward to that, but we are going to do it. We are going to start doing video and not just audio. For those of you guys who want to actually like see me hit Jim occasionally, or
Well, somebody told
throw
us that
something
we
at
need
him.
to do video. We shouldn't just do podcasts like audio. So we're going to give it a shot. We were going to do it actually in 2024. We just never did.
Right.
We publish our podcast to YouTube, but we don't actually video ourselves.
Correct. But we're going to start, we're going to do that. We've got a little studio set up here in one of our upstairs rooms in my little office.
You can see our dogs.
And then the dogs can join us. So we'll see how that goes. Other things that have been happening before we start doing what we always do, which is talk about artificial intelligence. We were going to do this a few days ago, but I picked up an illness and I have literally been down for the count for what, 8 days?
Well, before you had a respiratory infection and then it turned into something else. So the last 4 or 5 days, your world has been a chair, a bed, a couch.
I have slept more in the last 4 or 5 days than I think I have in the 50 some odd years of my life.
I don't know. You definitely have slept a lot.
All I want to do was sleep.
But you're doing a little better today.
I am doing better today.
And we got to wrap up season 2.
I can follow a conversation for more than 10 minutes. If you hear snoring in the background, it's because I have fallen back asleep, and I'll just let Jim take it from there.
I can talk.
So let's talk about 2024. At the beginning of, or I should say at the end of 2023, on a podcast, you had made some predictions, and everybody right now is doing their 2025 predictions. And so we need to make sure that we do kind of what everybody else is doing. But instead of just predicting new things, I thought it would be fun if we went back and looked at what you had predicted a year ago. And then let's grade it. Let's see.
Kind of goes to credibility, right? Most of these people that are making predictions, they don't tell you how bad they did in the last year.
Correct.
So let's see how badly I did.
Okay, so you literally took the transcript of the podcast where you had made these predictions.
Last day of 2023.
And the last day of 2023. And you took that and you fed it into an AI and you said, okay, here were all my predictions. Now let's have this conversation. And you got a grade. So let's talk about what you did first. The 2024 prediction increased AI regulations. Now, according to the AI, you got an A on that.
Yeah, I asked it to give me examples because ChatGPT can search the web now. So I said, find me examples if you're going to say I did a good job. So I said increased AI regulations, which did happen, frameworks, guidelines, all that stuff. And I got an A because, as an example, the European Union enacted it. There was some that got watered down, some that got canceled, but there was still a reasonable amount of AI regulations that came. But Europe was the strongest.
Europe's the strongest. And regulations, I think, is a little hard of a word, harsh word to use, especially in the United States. In the United States, they're using terms like guidelines and framework.
The most important thing before we move on is that I got an A.
You got an A.
I got an A.
So there you go.
Okay, we're moving on.
Gold star for Jim.
Gold star for Jim. What's next?
Next one. You said that there was going to be continued growth in open source AI, which you use all the time.
I do.
I think you might be solely responsible for that growth.
It could be. I use it a lot.
You got an A on that one too.
Yeah, Meta released several models, but I use the 3 point, now it's 3.2, there's 3.3 out, and we're actually building some stuff right now using that. So I get an A on that one too. So, okay, what's the next?
Second gold star for Jem. The next one was education.
Ooh.
This one's a bad one because we were like, education and AI adoption. We are so excited about this. It's going to transform. Okay. On the wall above my desk where we're sitting right now, I had painted the wall. I had done a bunch of stickers. It was empower, educate, elevate. These are my power words.
We've been working on it.
And oh my God, we were so excited about how education is going to do AI adoption and we're going to change the classroom. You got a C on that one.
Well, I got a C because only 23% of the institutions that they looked at had established AI related policies. One of the reasons I believe this to be true is because of our own experience.
Yes.
We wrote some policies, the lawyers overturned our policies because they didn't understand them. They
Correct.
watered them down to where they're not even a policy anymore. It's just a statement. So I would say that from educational institutions perspective, we got a C. And I think C is probably being a little generous.
Yeah, it is being a little generous. I think
I got a C.
Well, and I was okay, C is average.
It's true. C's get degrees.
C. I was just going back and forth with somebody on LinkedIn about it. It's we call it the ostrich syndrome is what we've coined that. I'm sure other people have said it before, but education, especially administrators, they still want to just kind of ignore it.
I'm going to tell you why in a little while. Well, that's a bad idea too.
Okay.
So moving on.
You give me a little teaser as to what one of your predictions is going to be.
Well, it's more of a rant than a prediction, but moving on.
Okay, so AI's role in news media.
This is number 4.
Number 4, more AI generated news anchors and content would emerge. Now, you got to see on that one, but I think it's because you were just a little bit off the mark. I don't think that you deserve a C on that because if you would have just taken out the words news anchors
and just put lots of AI generated news and content,
I think you would have got an A.
It's everywhere.
They're not putting like necessarily fake people.
Well, because remember there was a company that did that. There was a news channel though that was literally AI and I thought that was going to take off. I haven't heard a lot about it. So
now there is still the Instagram person or Instagram AI that's so popular that's completely AI generated. It is still out there. So it's not the physical appearance of the person. It's just the content.
I should have got a B.
I think you definitely should have got a B.
Okay. All right. Moving on to number 5.
So I'm overruling that one. Number 5, AI advancements in healthcare. This is a little disappointing because, again, I think that you were on the right track when you did that prediction. I think that AI has really helped with healthcare. I think healthcare is having some of the same problems that education's having while it's being used in like laboratories and analysis and data. It's not being used by actual doctors.
I think doctors, because I keep seeing about how one minute you see how that with an AI the doctors do better, the next time you see that they do worse. I think a lot of that is training because I think a lot of what the doctors use it for is they use it like Google.
And that's why I said it's a lot like the education thing.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot to do with training.
I think I got a C on this one. Probably deserve that one. All right, so
cultural innovation. You said that AI was going to be used to develop more sustainable crop protection methods, and reduce reliance on pesticides.
Yeah.
Again, you did get a C on that.
I probably should have got a D on that one.
Probably, and I think the reason that you should have got a D on that is because people take the path of least resistance, and right now they have this mindset that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so, hey, pesticides are working, so let's just keep spraying the fields with pesticides.
There's a lot of activity in agriculture around AI. It's just not what I had predicted. So again, if I'd have changed the focus of my prediction slightly,
right,
to where it would be more ingrained in the AI, more utilized in agriculture,
right,
I think I would have gotten better than being that specific.
Hyper personalized AI tools. Prediction number 7. Growth in localized, user-specific AI systems tailored to individual needs, such as meal planning, shopping support, all that good stuff.
I get an A on this one.
Big A on that one. Everybody likes convenience. and AI can make things a lot more convenient.
You can just look at the GPTs about health and all that stuff. There's so many of them that people have created.
What was it I was trying to do yesterday? I was trying to figure out why our new Ring doorbell camera wasn't clipping on the base. And I pulled up Google Safari, whatever it is on my phone. I think it's Google. And I pulled it up on my phone. And instead of typing in like tutorial on how to or what I would have done a year ago, I literally asked a question to the search engine, knowing that the very top of that search engine
It's going to give you
a
synthesized
basically
answer.
what I needed, a synthesized answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is definitely changing the way that we do things, and it's very personalized.
All right, so number 8.
AI agent models in education. Adoption of agent-based AI models for schools to efficiently handle tasks within educational systems. You got to see.
That's probably generous.
It's generous. Again, I think because we're talking about AI in education specifically, and education is very slow to adopt.
And there's too many cooks in the kitchen for education too. I mean, you have so many people that think they know what's best for education. I'm actually worried about this one for the same reason we were talking about education earlier. So anyway, so I got a C. I deserve that one, maybe less, but
advancements in material science. Uncover new materials and chemical structures. Got a C.
I don't think I deserve a C in this one. There was a lot of activity in material sciences with AI. I've seen some very interesting stuff. I think I deserve to be in that one.
I agree. AI's integration across industries.
Okay, this is number 10. This is my last one.
A broader use of AI in various industries, from manufacturing to environmental solutions. You got an A. It is adopted across trading, payments, marketing.
Heavy into focus on financial stuff.
It is adopted, definitely. So
overall,
you got a B minus.
Yeah.
I think you should have got a solid B.
I think so
a few of those C's should have been a C plus or a B minus. So I will change your grade before I enter it into the grade book.
All right.
I
like the feedback it gave us too.
It did. Strengths. The predictions for regulations, open source AI, and integration across industries were very accurate. It was well supported with real world examples. Strong insights into broader trends. You do good.
I did good.
You did good. Areas of improvement. And this is what you're going to improve on this as we move forward in this little podcast. Predictions for education, agriculture, and healthcare were too broad. Okay.
True.
Or lacked significant supporting developments in 2024. Narrowing the focus for these predictions could improve precision.
It was too many of them.
You had too many. So we're not going to give that many predictions.
No, we're not.
Moving into 2025. And I'm going to let you do some ranting while you're predicting the future.
Good.
So let's talk about it.
That word's everywhere.
I hear it everywhere. What do you think? And tell me your experience, because I know you had one, because it cost me money.
I did.
About agents.
Well, first of all, what is it? I provided you a definition that I wanted you to read of what it is.
This is an actual definition from Google. AI agent is a software program that can interact with its environment, gather data, and use that data to achieve predetermined goals. AI agents are capable of independently choosing the best actions to perform to meet those goals.
Independently being the key word.
So here's the great example that I always use of what an agent is and why it's important that it has information. I want to take a flight somewhere.
Okay, I'm going to talk about that one in a minute. As a matter of fact, it's one of the rants that I'm going to have. So let's talk about...
Here we go. We're 15 minutes in. You got 15 minutes to rant.
No, I may go overtime today. So first I want to add some clarification about the whole idea of agents. If you take a chatbot, this is Jem's definition. People out there can do whatever they want to with it. You take a chatbot, you give it access to tools. By tools, I mean other things that it can do besides just answer questions. Because you mentioned up there, it has to interact with its environment and gather data. So you have to give it some tools to do that. Then you give it a clear task to do. Well, you can already do that. There's already been tools for a while with chatbots, but the kicker is that it can run in a loop until it completes a goal. Most of the time with a chatbot, you ask it a question, even if it has the access to tools, like if you ask it for the weather forecast, even if you ask Alexa for the weather forecast, it has to have access to weather data. That's a tool. So it takes that information and it synthesizes an answer and it's done. There is no loop. There is no iterative trying to make it better. it's done. When an agent comes along, you now put it in a loop. As a matter of fact, the one you mentioned that I created, I was trying to compile. Here in Texas, weather changes a lot. And so I'm constantly going out and going, okay, they say it's going to get cold. When? What time today is the cold front going to hit here? Because cold fronts are dramatic when
They are.
they hit here. So
I remember in college, you walk into a class, you come out, and it's like 30 degrees.
yeah, you better watch the weather.
Right.
So, but there's a sports network that I like to use because it shows the temperature gradient across the entire state.
A sports network?
Yeah, it's Air Sports or something.
Oh, okay.
You're the one who showed it to me when Jared was in track.
Oh, yeah.
And we were trying to find the weather because they give you the weather at the sports locations, which is pretty much every town in Texas.
Got it.
So I wanted it to gather that though, and then synthesize an answer for me based on the predictability of when it's going to hit here. So like if it was in Lubbock at this right, if it was in Lubbock at this time, it was this temperature, then it got to this location, this temperature, the delta between them is
right.
So I wanted to kind of synthesize a weather forecast of my own. So I made a little agent to do that, and it ran for 15 minutes, and I spent $15 in tokens. It chewed through tokens. I mean, $15 doesn't sound like much, but I stopped it.
Yeah, think what would happen if you would have like gone to bed and came back.
Gone to lunch, whatever.
I hear stories of that happening.
There was a guy around the same time I did that. He ran up a $5,000 token bill because he left it over the weekend and it chewed through tokens. These tokens are actually pretty cheap. I mean, especially now they're really cheap. So to chew through $15, even $15 worth, that's a lot of tokens.
Right.
A year or two ago, when it first started, it wouldn't have taken as many. But my point is that agents have issues, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But that was my experience with creating one. But in a broader sense, you're also going to hear the term a lot in 2025. Besides agent, you're going to hear agentic AI. So my spin on that is, think of agentic AI as an agent with agents.
Your agent's going to have an agent?
Exactly.
Instead of having your guy call my guy, it's going to have your guy's guy call my guy's guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So agentic AI means there's a cluster. They talk about agent swarms now, clusters of agents. You're going to hear this term so many times. A lot of it, I don't normally get on board with this idea that people are overhyping things. I think agents, they are. Because there's very specific problems you have to solve.
Okay.
So, but everyone wants them. There's going to be a huge amount of resources, and there's some really smart people out there. I do think you're going to see adoption of agents, but for us regular people, because remember the saying is, if you're not paying for something, you are the product.
Right.
So if you can utilize an agent and it costs you nothing, then they're gathering information that they're reselling about.
And that's what they want more than anything.
Some do. I mean, but you got to have the resources to deal with that.
Right.
So first, there's three things that I put in here that have to be done. Okay. You have to have limits on dollars spent relative to task size.
So somebody's going to have to put like a stop, abort.
Well, and defining what that is not, unless you're Elon Musk and you have so much money you don't care. You can't spend $1,000 in tokens to figure out which hotel room to stay in for a business trip. That's not going to work out well for you. That's the lesson I learned with agents. They can spend money really quickly because they're not human.
Okay.
Next, know when to quit, which is related to item number one. That is hard. Even a human assistant, it takes time for that human assistant to learn you. I mean, think about what it takes when you go to book a vacation.
Correct.
A hotel room. There are so many variables, and you have no contextual experience as an AI to know what it is, what that variable means. So you have to have a way of going, it's good enough. It's good enough. I need to stop. So my take on that is that at some point it's got to ask for clarification. It's got to say, this is not going to work. I need to stop. And one thing that I thought about when you and I were when I was talking about this, putting this together was, unless you buy a restaurant, then for some reason, all ability to know when to quit just kind of goes right out the window, and you just keep trying to make that thing work.
That is so true.
We have personal experience with that one, which is where that comes from. Because we did buy a restaurant, and we should have quit about, 5 years earlier than we did. Exactly. Take a big pile of money, make it into a little pile of money.
Exactly.
Anyway, the third and last one that I mentioned, this is being done, but this is a hard problem. the workflows and the tools you mentioned earlier in the definition, you've got to have gathered data, have access. Think about all the connections you have to make just to book a flight.
Oh,
You have to know hotel. You have to be able to access hotels. You got to access locations. You got to access bank accounts, airlines to get. I mean, a vacation itself is massive number of variables.
it's ridiculous. I planned, and actually we ended up not going, but we were going to head to Disney World. We were supposed to be leaving today to go to Disney World,
Yep.
and it took me hours just because first of all it was for more than just us. We were taking some of our
Lots
kids
of
were going
variables.
with us. Lots of variables, lots of schedules. Where were we going to stay? How were we going to get there? How were we going to get from the hotel? And it's just all of this information. And used to, you would just call a travel agent.
Oh, they were
They
great.
were so awesome.
I love travel
You would
agents.
say, okay, it's me, 4 people. This is my budget. And then you don't worry about it, which is what they're hoping an AI can start doing, because then people got off to where they're like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself. It's a lot cheaper. I have more
World Wide
control
Web
over
killed a
it.
lot of
The World Wide Web
stuff.
just killed it.
And
Now-
there are still travel agents out there, but I don't hear of people using them as much. Everybody does their own research now,
Right.
which probably the poor travel agents that do exist probably drives them crazy. My point is that we call them workflows. If you're an IT person, you call them workflows. You can call them a tool, whatever it is. Think of it as tentacles. You got to connect into so much in order for that agent to be able to be useful to you. To me, it's more useful the way it is right now, because now I can ask questions to ChatGPT and have it search the web or even Google. So you can say stuff in natural language. I want to do this. What do you think? And I think that is better than go off and book that for me.
Well, it is. And I think one of the things that I'm having a difficult time is, like, you and I were going to go ahead and at least go somewhere for a couple of days as soon as I start feeling a little better, just to kind of get out, because, we've got a few weeks off.
You need a
And
spa day.
I need a spa day. And then whenever I go and I start doing the research, it's gotten to the point now to where all the answers that I'm getting from, like, the reviews or the pictures or,
Because the reviews aren't real anymore.
what I'm seeing
We're getting
online,
flooded with information.
and now I'm even questioning the images, because, like, I'll see something and I'll go, oh wow, that looks like a great little cabin in the woods. It would be
And then
so
we
much
get
fun.
there and it doesn't look
And
like that
you
at
get there,
all.
It's an outhouse that's propped up on a stick, and so, and I know it's been going on for a long time, because I was a
Long
photographer
before
for a
AI.
long time, and I know that the camera angle and the lighting, and you can do a lot with an image. But now,
Didn't people used to pay you to take pictures of products some? You did some product shots.
I did product shots.
Your goal was to make them beautiful.
Make it beautiful. And I understand that, but now it's like, does the house even exist?
I know, it feels deceptive.
Very
And we're getting
deceptive.
flooded with AI doing it now, which makes it
Yes.
even worse. It's like shouting into a hurricane trying to find out
Yeah.
what it is you want.
I think there might be a market out there for travel agents again who
I hope so.
actually, like, I was there.
Yeah, I
Book
know.
this hotel.
Well,
I was there.
They're even catching these influencers now writing articles about places they went.
that they didn't go.
They didn't even go, and they took pictures from the web and then put themselves in the picture. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to, is it that?
Follow the money.
I know.
It's all about
So-
the money.
I think that 2025, you're going to hear there's going to be so much agent activity, but I don't think that many companies out there have the resources. This is one of those things where I don't see how a little guy can do it. I really don't, because
One mistake over the weekend and a little guy's out of business.
yeah, and not only
because
that,
the
but
agent went rogue.
or just knowing enough information to know. I mean, you've been with me for a long time. You know my slight idiosyncrasies about travel, about where I stay, about those kind of things. So who knows what company knows more about you than any companies on the planet? I listed
Google.
3.
Google.
Google's number 1. Who's number 2?
Google's gotta be number 1. Apple.
Yep.
Your Apple, your phones, everything else, and then Meta.
Yes,
Yeah.
because of Facebook and Instagram, and so Google owns YouTube, and they own every piece of information that comes through most of the search stuff. Apple owns your phone, and they're the biggest phone supplier for most Americans anyway. And then Meta, of course, is everything.
Yeah.
TikTok, you could throw those in there, I guess. So these people, they know everything about you.
Why did you leave Microsoft off that list?
Well, Microsoft, as desperately as they want to be in the middle, they are in the middle of enterprise data. I mean, they own the enterprise space.
So they don't know necessarily about you personally.
when you're booking travel, and I keep using that as the example, there's a lot of other examples for agents.
Yeah.
And there's some really legitimately good ones that I think will work. But the ones people think about, the assistants, the full blown assistant kind of thing, you have to know a lot about your idiosyncrasies. Microsoft just doesn't know them. Now, Microsoft's got all that data from all those companies on those enterprise. They own there's the two big suppliers of cloud farms for cloud servers is Amazon and Microsoft.
Correct.
Google is running a distant third in terms of that, even though they have so much data about you, but they don't usually host other people's. So assuming Microsoft is not violating the privacy laws, and they are not using scraping or buying that data, which they probably are, then they're going to run a distant third in knowing personal information. That's why they want you to use Bing. How many times do you get the Edge browser, the Bing?
It's better than it used to be, but
it still switches you.
And it switches you whenever it feels like
it. And they make it hard for you to switch your default settings and Windows.
Just think about your mom, who still uses a computer occasionally, trying to figure out how to get off of Bing.
So Microsoft owns the desktop. That's why they want you to log in all the time. But they still don't know enough about you to really do a good job of understanding your idiosyncrasies. And again, my comment about the agents, do you want an agent booking your airline ticket to Europe? That little device you make fun of, the rabbit, they called themselves a language action model. They were trying to coin their own term, marketing, if you want to be
you fell for it.
First rule of marketing, be first. I didn't fall for it. I still think the device is cool. I think they were a little ahead of their time, though, because what they were trying to do was say, I'm going to give you a device that's voice interactive that can order an Uber for you, that can book things. But they had to connect into these services, and it became a large problem.
They were before their time. They didn't have
I think so.
Behind them.
I think somebody may buy out their technology if they were any good at it at some point, but I don't see how they can survive.
All right, so prediction.
Agents. What worries me, they're the only ones that can do it.
Not the little guys.
I don't think the little guys are going to be able to do it. I think there's going to be a market out there for very focused agents. I think you could probably make agents and then sell them to the big guys. If you have a particular domain expertise and you know enough about making them that you can use it connected into a data source because you know how to do that kind of stuff. So I think for people that can set them up and customize them, there's probably a market for it, but overall releasing them in the wild.
Okay, so we know that you can set them up because you did.
I did.
So what do you plan to do with agents? I mean, we have AI education professionals. We do training, and we're taking Agnes to the show. We're going to start doing some stuff with Agnes. What are you planning to do with agents?
Well,
what's Jem going to be tinkering with in his workshop every single day?
I do tinker a lot. What I'm doing with Agnes, which is educationally focused, what I'm doing with Agnes is all those connections I mentioned. How do you connect things in? So we've kind of broken up the classroom into parts. There's how the teacher interacts with the technology, and then what the technology can do once the teacher does interact with them. So our focus is somewhat agentic, but it's more tool-based. It's still going to be more deterministic in the sense that you can be deterministic with large language models. The work we're still going to do is going to be more of, I want you to do this task, but I'm not going to give you open-ended carte blanche to solve it. This is when you're done with it.
Okay.
So I want to include some agentic type stuff in there. I just don't know when I'm going to be ready to do that because my focus really is wiring things together.
Okay.
If you're going to make a flow, we call it speech to speech. If you're going to tell the agent to do something, and then the agent's going to give you an update, and then if you want to use that with voice, there's a whole set of things you've got to do. And we're trying to run as much as we can locally for privacy and cost savings, because remember that, if I have an agent that goes rogue and I'm running it on my server, it's inconvenient because it's taking up some resources, but it doesn't cost me a $5,000 token bill. So even when I do with agents, I learned my lesson about using just an OpenAI or Google or whatever those guys. So I'm going to spend a lot of time with working on Agnes from the school perspective. And I still am really, really anxious to try to give something for the elderly. I've already done some experimentation with what it can do for my mom. And we've talked about that on previous podcasts. So at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to work on the elderly piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to put her again over on a Roku, and just getting the input switch from one HDMI to another HDMI, and then God forbid she try to find something to watch on on the Roku, or, it's
There's
just
so much
so
room for improvement.
complicated.
I know.
And it's not that it's necessarily mentally complicated for
There's too many
her.
steps.
There's too many steps, and her fingers are arthritic, and just getting the remote to do it, it's just,
Well, and
I could see AI voice capabilities for elderly people just
huge
changing
potential.
people's quality of life.
And you know what? For my mom, so we're talking about the TV. It doesn't have to be perfect.
No,
This isn't making a medical decision for my
no,
mom.
it's putting on a movie.
I know. And these people need to, if anyone listens that works for any of these companies, your user interfaces are terrible.
Oh, they are.
They are so bad. And for my mom to find a movie, because she likes to watch movies, and one of these services
Right.
is awful. That's why she can't get off a
And she can't afford to stay on the cable
Dish
type
or Direct
Dish
TV
network.
because they keep going up on costs. And she's
They're
on a fixed income.
fixed.
So those remotes, anyway, I'm not going to go into that rant any longer.
Sorry, but you needed a rant for just a second.
I did. You shouldn't have to have a PhD in a particular tech. I shouldn't have to have a PhD in remotes in order to use it. So one thing I was thinking about whenever I was thinking about this, I think the world needs a Steve Jobs for AI. Because, and I know not everybody loves Steve Jobs. I know because
I met him a few times.
well,
back
I was
in
in a meeting with him once. The guy's a jerk. I get it, but
no, he was just different.
he was a jerk.
Jem,
He was a jerk.
I have sat in some meetings with you where the other people sitting in the meetings are probably thinking Jim's a jerk.
That's probably true.
It's. I'm sorry, but from an education standpoint, when I met him, you could tell almost immediately he just was a little high functioning, and therefore came across as not having time for anybody.
He was a very impatient person.
Yes.
But the thing I liked about him is that the little things that stick with me was like putting the keys in his pocket with his phone.
Right.
Which
and
is why
scratching the screen.
Which is why Gorilla Glass even exists, because
Correct.
Corning wasn't even selling the stuff.
Correct.
And now he personally helped them make billions of dollars because he insisted that it had to be Corning. He delayed shipment of the iPhone.
Right, because of it.
Because he said people have keys in their pockets. That's the level of vision.
I saw a speech that he did the other day, and he was talking about basically bringing the humanities into technology because there wasn't a good reason why it couldn't be beautiful.
You should have mentioned that because one of my biggest rants, why is the PC so ugly? Why is it that Apple has learned over the years, over and over again, they make attractive technology?
Very.
And when you look at a PC, you're like, really? A black box? Is that the best you can do?
I will say that when I look at my iPhone,
it's not as beautiful.
You can tell that Jobs is no longer here.
I know.
Because they have really gone down when it comes to making things pleasing to the eye.
And easy to use. When he left, I remember when he got booted out of Apple the first time by the guy they hired from Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola that didn't know anything about it. And I remember that everything became plain vanilla, ugly, that kind of stuff. When he came back, it changed. We need another one of those. So another prediction and it's not really another one, but it's related to it. You're going to get AI agents and you're going to see them everywhere. My concern is how good they're going to be because people are going to try it. And I think there's going to be a lot of buyer remorse when it comes to doing that. I don't think they're going to go away though. And I don't think they're going to go away because they're cheaper. I mean, anytime you have a business, your biggest expense is always labor. And they're going to talk about things about making it more personalized. And there's some viability to that, but there's so much. I just don't see how it can go away. People want this stuff.
So your prediction is that we're going to have our first real taste of AI agents.
And it's probably going to be a bad taste.
But it's not going to necessarily be what we want.
I don't think it's going to be. But you know what? If you want to be a little more optimistic about it, every piece of technology that's ever come out, as long as I can remember, was awful the first generation.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what early adopters deal with. And in some ways, I'm an early adopter. In some ways, I'm not. Some pieces of technology, like cell phones, if you remember right, I wasn't an early adopter of the smartphones, as they used to call them. So I thought you might like some examples of AI agents that are in use.
So healthcare virtual assistants, patient care, providing AI 24/7 support for appointments, medication reminders, diagnostics.
think about navigating their services,
Mhm.
scheduling, figuring out how the locally here, Scott and White, their website's terrible and setting up appointments is terrible.
Correct.
The Cleveland Clinic, they're implementing AI agents to help patients get through the scheduling appointments piece.
Correct.
It's not really giving you health advice.
It's just helping you
It's
get
to
it.
get an appointment and navigate their services. I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
So that's a healthcare virtual assistant.
Financial customer service agents.
You're going to see these a lot.
Already, I love the fact that I can like watch trends or have it give me a notification if a balance gets to something, or, I already like the fact that I feel like I have something else other than myself and our son in law who does all of our finances. Keep an eye on things.
Well, and the thing about AI is it can keep an eye on things without having to set programmatically. Typically, the keep an eye on things meant that you were going to have
Set a
to
limit.
you're going to have to set limits. You're going to have to think about it a lot.
Mhm.
The AI can help you that.
Correct.
So, and then of course there's
Retail AI shopping channels. Absolutely. That is, follow the money and
that's a big one.
getting
And
people to click on something or buy something
or helping them
you know,
try on, oh, this dress is going to look good on you, or those shoes look good on you. Or if you're a guy like me who has zero taste when it comes to clothing, having an AI that I can interact with that goes, remember that disastrous trip to the mall many years ago when you left
Yes.
me
Never
unsupervised?
ever leave Jem unattended.
I unsupervised. You said, go, buy some clothes. So I went up to I saw a mannequin. I figured this was my logic. The person who put that mannequin together knew what they were doing. So they matched everything. So my idea was just buy everything on the mannequin.
Hey, it worked for you.
Well, you weren't that happy about it.
If you had unlimited resources financially, then you could walk into any mall you wanted and look at a mannequin. Or
It was
any
a little
store you
expensive, but
wanted.
you also you didn't agree with the problem with mannequins is they don't
look
fit,
like you.
they don't look like me. It didn't fit my body type or whatever. That is why AI in retail is such a cool idea. So I think that those three examples, you're going to see more and more of that kind of stuff. But I wanted to kind of cover one more. We're kind of running over time, but it is our last one. Can we run a little over time?
Go ahead. You're good.
So I also wanted to talk about industries that I think are ready for disruptive technologies to come in. Now, an industry disruptive to somebody in the tech world means that you're doing something in a particular way that's not really adopting new technologies, and somebody's going to come along and do it. And when they do it, your whole industry is going to get turned on its ear.
Well, some good examples of that. Uber
That was a really big one.
disrupted the transportation industry.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and
like,
even delivering food now. But
put it on its ass. It was like, geez.
well, and what's the industry itself fought it tooth and nail, because you think about these cab companies in New York City, they had spent a lot of money and they had all these rules they had to follow. It's kind of the same problem you have in education. You get these private ones coming in and they don't have to follow the same rules as you do. Well, Uber, Amazon is another good example.
Absolutely. Retail stores and
the bookstores.
shopping, bookstores,
Amazon started with
Nobles, all that stuff.
Amazon started as a bookstore.
Yes.
And they turned the whole industry on its ear. And I don't know that they did it necessarily in a good way. I like seeing.
If you're in rural America, I think that Amazon is a big help.
It is, because we had to go drive 2 hours to get to a really good bookstore.
45 minutes to get to a grocery store that you could buy something that wasn't expired.
So I think there's some industries, there's a couple of them that I think are massively need to be disrupted, and there's a lot of opportunity to do so. The question is, I always use this term you don't like, throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are ways to do this that are bad.
Yes.
And bad means it's kind of just drifts in or comes in on its own.
To me, bad means that it changes it overnight. Like, it's one of those things that it just shoves everything out of the way. It's almost like a freaking dumpster fire. It's just going to happen no matter what. Just get out of my way. Well, and then it shoves something down your throat.
I think there's another way to make it bad. There's a cartoon they did years ago about something that's designed by committee. It talks about the rope swing and the what the customer want, what marketing wanted, what sales asked for, what engineering delivered, and then it talks about what customer wanted. What the customer wanted was a tire hanging on a swing, but all the different designs that they went through were so bad. Mm-hmm. I think if you allow things to just kind of do it at their own, you don't support it at all. You resist it and you don't support it. And even if it doesn't come in like a freight train, you can end up with a mess. The problem that one of the industries that I'm going to mention is education. Education not only doesn't have enough political muscle to resist, They have, and there's a lot of money flowing into education now with these vouchers and stuff everybody's pushing. The problem is that it's also, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many people who think that they ought to have their say in education, whether it's administrators. When you look at administrators and parents and politicians, and everybody's got their own idea of what it should do. And so, a confused consumer never buys. When you get something so massively confusing that nothing happens, then that stuff we're talking about, the AI in this case that's coming in, it gets put in whether you like it or not, and it gets put in ways that are not really as beneficial as it could be. So I call it a poor implementation problem. Unfortunately, I think education, there's already AI schools opening up. And I think it's a really bad idea for AI to have that level of control like they're putting into it. I don't like the idea. And it's not just because I work in education, because I'm an IT director. I can go be an IT director somewhere else.
There's a difference in being in the classroom with kids
or an administrator.
Yeah.
I'm an administrator, but I'm an IT person. I still think that I believe in teachers. I do believe that teachers have value. Not every teacher has value. There are bad teachers. There are bad everything.
Exactly.
But I do think in general, teachers have a lot of value. And I don't think AI can be put in that place.
All right. So education's the number one.
Number two, big for AI disruption is healthcare.
Healthcare for a different reason, though.
Yes. And I think healthcare is coming because it comes down to choice. You and I've seen it over and over and over again. In your case, you have issues that they can't seem to diagnose with, inflammation and stuff like that. What are you supposed to do? Just say, "Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm good. Just forget me. I'm good."
My dad has always been a believer in technology. My dad passed away a couple months back. Up until the day he died, he believed that
they were going to find a cure.
Something, but the doctors had stopped looking.
Yeah.
They said, "We can't do anything for you." And he didn't have enough money because, he's a vet, so he had the VA and stuff, but he didn't have enough money to go to some specialist at the Mayo Clinic and get a cure invented for him like that rich guy did that we used to know. So at the end of the day, people can't afford it. They're not just going to die. They're going to use AI with you. We already use ChatGPT as a medical diet, and it's pretty dang good.
I think so too.
So, and
it's made me think of some things I didn't think I would ever think of.
And we saw recently what happens, bad as it was, some people fight badly when it comes to fighting these insurance companies. AI is a better choice than the alternative. You don't want people killing off CEOs of healthcare organizations because they hate the healthcare organization. Insurance companies, and I'm not saying they should do it under threat of terrorism, but insurance companies have got to change. Healthcare's got to change. It's too expensive. I just read this morning that all these healthcare companies, these pill pushers, are raising their prices again this year. Like 65 different medications or something are going to go up this year in price.
Wow.
And Rachel used to work at the local pharmacy.
So did our other son.
And our other son. And they talked about little old ladies coming in there and having to take their medications and take some of it out of the bag.
And literally
they just couldn't pay for it.
I have to eat.
Yeah, they were in the donut hole, as they loved it.
Medicare has changed. That has changed coming up this next year because I'm dealing with it with your mom. There are some changes, but yeah, it needs to be a lot more massive. So you're correct. I think that AI will definitely do some disruption in healthcare.
Whether they like it, you can either embrace it, but don't do what United did and put out an agentic AI. They put out one that its sole purpose was rejecting claims.
Right. And it had a very high...
And it rejected them all the flipping time. You can't put them doing that. But you can make insurance easier to navigate. You can drive down costs and overhead. Maybe you don't need to pay these administrators $60 million a year or whatever they're $10 million a year. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done
all
ranting.
Right, so
two industries.
We're going to wrap it up because we're way over time.
Yes, we are.
Jim's predictions, in a nutshell.
Agents are coming, but they may not be what you think.
I
think most people are going to spend the year wiring things up. They're going to, all these connections you've got to make into these data sources. I think IT people are going to be really busy because you got to these agents aren't going to work if they don't have access to data. And all these data exists in the world in a format that was pre-AI. It exists in databases. Access to that database is predefined in a particular way. Bringing all this data together so AI can make decisions like buy this or do this for you, the connections have to be made. And it's a lot of work. I don't see how you can do it in a year. I don't see how 2025 can be the year of agents. I can see I'd be the year of bad agents, but anyway.
All right. So, my name is Maury, and I'm here with my husband, Jem, and we really appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time and listening to us talk about artificial intelligence. We hope that everyone has a marvelous 2025, and we hope you listen again in a week where we're going to be trying to do video and not just audio. You guys have a marvelous rest of the day.